Yes, guys, if you follow Men's Physique, I do not need to introduce this guy, but I'm going to introduce him because there's a lot of titles to his name. He is an IFBB pro, he is an Olympian, he is a pro class winner, entrepreneur, podcast host, YouTube channel. His business owner, he's soon to be a father. It's Alex Toplin. There we go. Did I
What
do
a
him justice?
phenomenal, man. What an intro. I think hearing you say all those things made me realize how much I actually have on my plate at times.
Good man. No, it's been well, look, first off, we gotta say, mate, congratulations, obviously,
Thank you,
for
brother.
yourself and your partner announcing not only they could be a father, but we saw the blue come out. It's a baby boy. Matches your t-shirt you're wearing right now. Congratulations.
Thank you, brother. I have a daily reminder of how blessed I am sitting next to me every day, man. I'm over the moon, man. Especially having to take it back a step back from men's physique or just competing in general this year. You know, the fact that, all the sacrifice that we went through is now coming to fruition. I'm blessed.
Mate, absolute true blessing. Like I said, congratulations to you, your partner, your family.
Thank
Beautiful.
you.
Absolutely beautiful. Something else that's beautiful is obviously the men's physique division. I mean, look, you've been part of it for so long. You've been covering it not only through Men's Physique Radio, but also your own YouTube channel, doing your weekly segments, looking at all the updates, everything that's kicking off. Look, let's go straight into it. Men's physique division. I can't remember a time that maybe it's been. When was the last time it's been popping off like this? Because we haven't just got one or a few people saying that they're winning, but it seems to be we got the OGs coming back after a year
Yeah.
out or a couple of years out. We got the returning champion who's looking to tie with Brandon, try and get towards GOAT status. We got the new blood. We got some people changing their persona. It may be the last dance for a couple of the old heads who are competing at this year's Olympia. What's your thoughts of the current lineup we're looking at?
Man, this is probably the most exciting year in men's physique history. I mean, there was a lot of excitement when Jeremy first came back in 2023, but not only having the fact that he's almost making like another comeback on top of that, there's just so many mini storylines in a massive, segment or massive show in itself. You have Ali Bilal versus Ryan Terry, and then you have Emmanuel Hunter versus Aaron Banks, which a lot of people don't even realize how close that was just last year. And then you have, the battle between the Brazilians of Vitor and Edvin, right? You have so many storylines built into this season. It's like you're watching the first call outs just as intensely as you're watching the second call out. So I haven't seen a lineup this deep in years, this much excitement, a lot of question marks going into it. That's what's making men's physique so exciting. And the reality is, no matter how dominant you think our current champion is, there is a true feeling in the air that it's up for grabs, and that's what a lot of people are feeling or seeing. You're seeing the blood in the water, the athletes starting to feel confident in themselves, they're putting in the works. But truly, man, I haven't seen the men's physique division this exciting with a lot of the top names talking a little bit of shit, feeling confident in themselves. It's an amazing time for men's physique, man.
Well, look, let's talk about the guy who's been the driving force of very much the lot of talk on social media, which has spiked a lot, and that is Ali Bilal.
Yes.
He's just gone all in, playing the Mayweather role. In the recent video I just dropped saying I'm young and fresh, just reminded me of when Mayweather fought Canelo in that press conference,
Yep.
exactly word for word you said. Ali Bilal, I mean. What is your thoughts of how direct Ali has gone, even to the point of, look, it's not getting personal to Ryan. It's not like a personal attack, but he's really got his eyes set on him. I'll be the one retiring. My front is better. All of that. What are your thoughts of Ali very much going gung ho towards the only person that's ahead of him, and that's Ryan Terry?
Well, I think there's a few reasons. I think one, he's truly confident in the work and the look, his physique compared to Ryan's physique, right? He's truly confident in his ability to actually stand on stage with him, not just be comparable, but actually beat him. So I don't think the words that he's saying are fabricated or just trying to create excitement. He truly believes it. So that's what also creates an excitement behind it. He's not speaking words that, are just for headlines. He's speaking his truth from his perspective. And I think that is, an exciting aspect. Now, the thing about Ali, and this is probably, and I can't remember an athlete who had this situation ever But when you look at Ali, it's very easy to point out things that he doesn't have, right? You can point out things that, because Aaron Banks came out and said it, I have a better chest, I have a better shoulders, I have better back. The only thing he has on me is conditioning. And he's not wrong. But when you see them on stage together, standing on stage next to each other, your eyes go right to Ali. And yes, I'm sure a little bit of the conditioning and then that wow factor that he has, but you can still point out all of those things that he doesn't have versus somebody who has those things, but he still beats them. Right. And when you've been rewarded multiple times with an Arnold Classic, Pittsburgh, New York, you get that confidence. So he backs up almost everything that he says, and you can't really be mad at him for having that confidence. But I do think Ryan, he's a different beast, because I think Ryan has a balancing act within his physique that Ali doesn't have because he has the wow factors that Ali has, which I think is why Ali separates himself from everybody else other than Ryan. But Ryan has the balance, he has the back, and they're just playing two different characters right now. Ali is being the guy who's a little bit more boisterous and, just talking about the work that he's doing. Meanwhile, you have, Ryan being a little bit more quiet and behind the scenes, and I guess you can say a little bit more traditional in terms of what you would expect a champion to be. And I don't think there's anything wrong with either roles that these guys are playing. I think it creates a lot of excitement. And I also think that if you're in their shoes, you're in that top conversation, you should go into this show with expectations, to, if not win, at least be right in that conversation. And I don't find anything wrong with what Ali is saying, but I also see a side where I think he can dig himself a little bit of a hole in the public's eye of being that guy who becomes more of a talker than, somebody who's about that action, but we'll see because, we're only 8 weeks away. We'll have an opportunity to see, front row and center whether or not Ali is going to be able to back up the words that he's speaking.
Do you think Ali will carry this on? Because like we've heard of it now for the last couple of weeks, we've still got another 7 to 8 weeks out of Olympia, and also the person he is kind of directing most of his comments, or when you read into it, is director Ryan. You know Ryan is not going to say anything. He's not going to retaliate, and you're not going to have a back and forth. So it feels like it could just be continuous traffic from Camp Ali Bilal for the next 7 to 8 weeks until we get to the press conference 2 days before the Olympia.
Ali is a master marketer. He's very good at understanding that there's a personal brand side of this. We just saw him sign one of the biggest deals in men's physique, if not the biggest deal in men's physique. So he understands both sides of it, and it's different. Like we said, if there's somebody who just speaks it and doesn't back it up, but because he has the opportunity and has shown to back it up over the last couple of years, he's just creating a brand for himself that a lot of people want to pay attention to. Whether you hate him or you love him, you're gonna watch him. And because of that, he's separating himself from a lot of people. Listen, let's be real. Ryan Terry is out of, he's closer to the end of his career than he is going to be at the beginning of his career. Meanwhile, Ali could be more in the middle slash beginning of his career. So right now he's building himself up to be that next guy and the next exciting, voice and eyes of men's physique. So because of that, he's just putting himself in that conversation with Ryan, not even physique wise, just him talking, saying, I'm beating Ryan, or I'm gonna beat, yeah, I'm beating Ryan. He's not saying that I'm gonna beat Aaron again. He's not saying I'm gonna beat Brandon. He never went head to head with Brandon, right? Like, or at least in the last couple of years. So like he could easily be saying those things, but no, he's looking at one specific person. And because of that, all of us are looking at those two, right? He's not putting himself next to other people. It's the champion. So let's be real. The judges see that, the fans see that. So we instantly already think that these guys are going to be the guys who we want to see the comparison next to. So, like I said, he's a master branding.
If Ali did pull it off and he did beat Ryan at the Olympia, he said he would like to see Ryan walk away, that he'll be the one to retire Ryan. Do you think that would happen?
Ooh, I've said it. I think Ryan should retire if he wins it this year. I don't think Ryan should retire if he loses it this year. I think if Ali beats Ryan, that puts him that puts him so high up on the men's physique pedestal because of how many people were focusing on Ryan. If to answer your question, and this one is hard because I love Ryan, I do think that if Ali ends up beating Ryan this year, which I don't have right now, I do think that I do think that Ryan would end up retiring. Do I think he should? No, because then I feel like the pressure's off him at that point. Like he lost. Let that now the eyes are only on Ali Bilal. Right now, he truly has that underdog role that he could go full force into. Right, because you already said it. Ryan is best fueled when people are doubting him. Right, when the people in the medium are doubting him. When these athletes are speaking as if they're already going to win or be crowned that next champion. That's how he gets motivated. So now he actually, instead of creating a fake narrative that, he's the underdog, because he's not. Let's be real, he's not the underdog, right? But if he ends up losing, he will truly be the underdog. And I actually think that we're going to see a Ryan Terry that we have never seen before if he ends up losing the title the following year.
Ryan beat Brandon 2023. Brandon was the one. Like
Yeah.
that Ryan's always said Brandon's the one that keeps him awake. Then we thought it'd be Aaron Banks would be the main challenger for Ryan in 2024. Aaron came third. Is Ali Bilal Ryan's biggest threat to date to his title?
He is. I personally think Aaron Banks has the highest ceiling in men's physique. I think if you take a look at Aaron Banks, shoulder to waist ratio, the structure conversation, the only thing that he doesn't have consistently is the conditioning to match those other two guys. But he's also shown that he can get there before. So if Aaron Banks puts it all together, I then think Aaron Banks is the biggest threat to the title, hands down. But there's been an inconsistency pattern with his looks, which then creates a uncomfort for people to put him in that conversation. Now, Ali has been extremely consistent. His ceiling is very high, but his floor is also very high. So because of that, if he's not 100% on a given day, he's still going to be in that conversation. Like I said, there's a lot of holes in his physique, but the question mark is if he can bring up the back to generally match Ryan's back, I think that's going to put him right there. Because listen, I was there last year, front row and center, and I saw how close these physiques were actually. And a lot of people see what they see online, and I get it. But I'm telling you right now, Ali Bilal was on his ass. And because of that, I know he knows it. He's motivated, right? His foot's on the gas. And I know Ryan knows it too. So because of that, this year is going to be to something different. When they get on stage next to each other, it's truly going to come down to who nails it on that day because I think they both have the physiques in order to be crowned a champion. We've already seen Ryan, right? But Ali is right there. He's right there.
Something that has been different is obviously Aaron Banks is quite normal. Now, to be fair, if you do follow his socials, if you follow his
Mhm.
channel, then you know he's focusing on number one, which is himself, to bring his absolute best because he knows that he can still win the title. And rightly so. He is a former Olympia champion. He's won every title you can in men's physique, every major title. Aaron Banks is a quiet Aaron Banks a very dangerous Aaron Banks because we just don't know what's going on in the background?
Aaron, he has a unique personality. It's when I watched the episode with George Brown, I don't think George was necessarily wrong. I think that you saw a version of Aaron, kind of come back after the Pittsburgh show that, was almost more reminiscent of the version of Aaron back in 2022 and 2023 when, he was a talker. He's very confident in his work, same thing, and he talked about it, just like we're seeing with a lot of the landscape now. I personally think that Aaron, the best thing that Aaron to do right now, and what he's clearly starting to do, is take a step back from the media side, take a step back from, being in the conversation with all of these guys talking, because I think there's times where he says things and he doesn't come across in a way that I think it was meant to come across. And I've seen it happen time and time again to a point where, a lot of these guys, let's be real, they're emotional, so like if they say something, that wasn't supposed to be said in a way that it came across, a lot of these guys are going to get beaten up online about it. And that starts to beat up their mental a little bit. So I thought it was smart for him to take a step back from the podcast scene. I think it was smart for him to take a step back from social media. And the one thing about, Aaron that a lot of people don't realize sometimes, it's almost like a little bit like Andre Ferguson, where sometimes he like doesn't give a shit. Like he doesn't give a shit about, not only I gotta be careful when you say this because you know how they can get sometimes, but like there's a lot more on his plate than just bodybuilding. And because of that, the emotions of the highs and the lows of bodybuilding, I don't know if they affect him as much as sometimes the other people. You know what I mean? So I do think in total, it is smart for him to take a step back because he in the past has spoken, things that he probably shouldn't have spoken, and he's gotten in trouble for things that he did slash shed. And if he can take that pressure off of him, in this prep setting, I think that's going to bode well for him in the long run.
Well, Erin, look, we know consistency has been a big one. Sometimes you got to toss a coin, it lands on heads, and you know it's the best. Erin come in, sometimes it lands on tails, and you just leave the door open for somebody else to surpass him. Is the gap closer between him, where he's at third Olympia, to second, or is it closer fourth to third, where Eman is waiting?
That's a great question. And the reality is, it is closer between Emmanuel Hunter and Aaron than it is Aaron Banks and Ali Bilal. And again,
There's
it's
a
one of
risk
those.
that you could fall back places, really, then actually gain a place.
Absolutely, there's a risk because if you remember, right after or in the first call out at the Olympia, the one of the first moves was Emmanuel Hunter over Aaron Banks, and they did that for a reason. And if you go back and watch the footage, or even go back and watch the recaps of what Tyler Mannion said, he specifically said if it wasn't for Emmanuel fading, then there was a situation where we can see Emmanuel Hunter falling in that third place spot, based off of the first initial moves. And that's the thing. Emmanuel is somebody who he has a very high ceiling at the same time, but at the same time, he needs to nail it in order to be in those conversations. And he nails it every time he's at the Olympia. But we just saw him at the Tampa Pro as well, where he brought a improved package. So if he can peak the way that he's been peaking consistently at the Olympia at this year's, there's no doubt that Emmanuel Hunter could easily move up a spot and, push Aaron Banks back. But like we said, I still think Aaron Banks has the highest ceiling in men's physique. So because of that, if Aaron controls his variables, that's the one thing that Aaron if he only has to focus on how he shows up, not how other people show up. If he shows up 100%, there's nobody in the world that can beat Aaron Banks. I don't care what nobody says. But at the same time, Aaron's ceiling is high, but meanwhile his floor is also low compared to those guys in those first call outs. So you can see a world where Aaron Banks wins the Olympia and then a world where he's out of the top five.
Can you see a world where Eman wins Olympia?
I don't think Emmanuel can win it this year, but he also is one of those guys. He has some of the best balance on stage, minus the upper to lower body. If you're just more focused on the upper body, nobody has a back as wide as he does. If he gets the detail a little bit more consistent through the back, it's over. He has the best back in men's physique and the highest potential in men's physique in terms of the back. And then the front shot, his crazy good structure. The biggest question mark for him is going to be the separation and detail through his midsection. If he can get that, there's without a doubt that he can be in the conversation to stand next to Ryan because you can't compare those two physiques and say that Ryan has a better structure than him. You can't say that he has a better back than him, right? You can't say that he just more bubbly muscle than him because he doesn't, right? So you can break it down very similar how you can do with, like the Ali Bilal conversation and say this is where Emmanuel beats Ryan, but at the same time, it's it's a polish that I think a lot of times men's physique looks for. It's hard to explain. There's a tan look. There's a posing presentation look. There's a confidence look on stage, the aura on stage. And right now, there's no question that Ryan Terry and Ali Bilal have that over everybody else.
Somebody else we haven't mentioned is three-time Olympia champion Brad Hendrickson.
Mm.
Second in 23 in 22 behind Erin, second behind Ryan in 23. Didn't compete in 24. Obviously came fourth at Pittsburgh, but took the win over in New York and Miami. Do you think we've seen the best of Brandon Hendrickson already?
The shows that we just saw him compete in over this past 2025 season, that was not the best version of him. You can take any win that he had, it wasn't the best version of him. It was a version of him that was clearly his body was still getting back in prime shape. I think the best versions of him was either 2022 or 2023. Those versions of him was full, round, bubbly. It just a demanding presence on stage. This year, when I saw him doing his thing, again, obviously he took some time off. There was a lack of stage confidence that he had, and that's uncommon for a champion to see. And obviously, he was coming off of a Pittsburgh fourth place finish, but that's something that I've never known Brandon to have. Brandon should not be stepping on stage with, any lack of confidence because he is, for many years, the standard of men's physique. Truthfully, I don't see a world this year Brandon wins the Olympia. That's the one thing. I actually see a world where Manuel can win it over Brandon. Brandon has one of my favorite physiques. He has the best front shot in men's physique. His back is not there. And that's the reality of the conversation. And that's not going to be brought up between, the Miami pro to the Olympia. It's not going to happen. And I think a lot of people are blowing smoke, saying that, they can see him winning the show. And I know it might be a hot take for me to say that he's not, but I don't see a world this year with the physiques that we've seen that he's going to win it.
We mentioned Ryan, Ali, Erin, Eman, and Brandon. Brandon has never placed outside the top five at Olympia. Is this Olympia the biggest risk where he could actually place outside of the O when you've got other people who has beaten him? I know he's beaten Edvin again, but you have got Edvin, you have got Vitor, and you've got other names as well. Is there more of a risk of Brandon losing his top five position than actually challenging for the title?
This is the year, if it were to happen, would be the year he falls out of the top five. Why? Because he's already lost to an Edvin, he's already lost to a Vitor. Both guys, one was fifth, one was sixth, right? So if you look on paper, yes, he's already lost to a guy who's been out of the top five. But I also don't think that was the best version of Brandon. Um, I think that Brandon's front shot being what it is going to have him in that top five conversation this year. There's no doubt. I see him right now either in the fourth or fifth place spot. But I think he's the most incomplete guy on that stage, and I think that if he, in terms of the first call out, so if he, again, can find a way, the man is to bring up that back, then there's no doubt in my mind that he can be in that, top two conversation, let alone top five. But I do think this year, based off of what we've seen, the landscape, and with the projection of, what I think he can do in a shorter amount of time, I think that he's going to find himself in that fourth or fifth place spot this year.
Jeremy Buendia. Where do we start with Jeremy? The four-time Olympia champion, the face of the division for so many years. The man has created so many iconic moments. The man who so many was inspired as well to take up the board shorts and compete in men's physique. A personality that's been box office through and through. He's back. He's got his own gym. He's got a business. He's got a family. Different place than the years we've seen him back in his prime. I use the word prime. We've seen Andre said some stuff. We've seen George has said some stuff as well. What are your thoughts of what we've seen so far from Jeremy? That's put out socials, dropped a couple of new videos. So if you haven't checked them out, check out his socials if you are watching. What are your thoughts of Jeremy's chances and where do you think he could land in the 2025 Olympia lineup?
The problem with the James Buendia situation is that people already had that itch of, okay, he's coming back. And then when he stepped on stage, it wasn't what people had expected. Now, I had the opportunity in that prep to see Jeremy 5 weeks out. I traveled out to Colorado where he was prepping. I saw what he was working on. I saw the physique. I saw the changes in his posing. This man was on. That was 5 weeks out. And then we all see the updates of him leaning into the show looking unworldly. But that did not translate to the stage for a multitude of different reasons, which he already went into. Now, a lot of people are fucking sleeping on Jeremy Buendia, and I don't understand why. I get the fact that he hasn't been quote unquote or won something until 2020 or 2017, but you got to understand this man took some time off. He clearly grew. He clearly improved. So when people say the prime of his career, yes, the prime was when he was winning. I get that. But I don't think the prime of his look, of the physique actually progressing and evolving, that we've even had an opportunity to see that at full scale yet. I think we're going to see it this year. Well, I've already seen some of the updates, right? I'm sure we all have. He didn't nail it. He didn't nail it. That's the reality of it on 2023. And people are judging him based off of a bad, stage appearance. I think that he needed to kind of put his ego aside and start to run the gauntlet a little more. That's what I thought Jeremy Buendia should have done after that 2023 Olympia, because the excitement of that comeback it's no longer there. right? But now you can get some more momentum and get some more excitement stepping on these stages because I don't care what nobody says. This year in men's physique, as exciting as it has been, there's a lot of shows that the reality is it's not deep. It hasn't been, crazy, exciting to watch. Jeremy Buendia could have built so much momentum competing in this season. He could have stood next to some of the legendary names. I don't think we've come close to seeing the best version of Jeremy Buendia. And this season, his last ride, I think that he's going to be in that top 5 to 7 conversation this year. I truly believe that he's going to be in that conversation.
If he did pull it off, if he did pull off the fight for five and won the fifth title, where would that rank in the all-time Olympia moment across all divisions over all the years? Where would that rank?
Oh man, it has to be in the top 3. I know people look at men's physique as the redheaded stepchild, of bodybuilding, but you cannot tell me Jeremy Buendia winning 4 titles, him making a comeback, embarrassing himself, and then goes on through all the noise, through all the bullshit, goes off and pulls off his fight for five. There's no doubt in my mind that he's in that top 3 conversations of greatest moments in history. Because I'm telling you right now, 0 people think that there's going to be an opportunity for him to actually do that. 0. Because not one person outside of the fanboys are going to sit here and put money on the line to sit there and say that Jeremy Buendia has a chance to actually win this title. So if he actually pulls that off, oh my God, the betting odds on that would probably be non-existent. I really do think that Jeremy Buendia, again, he has so much that we haven't been able to see yet. And I think that's the hardest part. But if you read between the lines and you look and say, okay, look at his structure. He's improved his back. It's not going to be, as good as everybody else's, but Ryan Terry's wasn't just a couple years ago. Ryan Terry's back was shit. Like people were saying that the reason why he wasn't in the conversation was because how shit his back was. In the matter of 1 year, really, he went from having a shit back to then being one of the best backs in men's physique. So if Jeremy Buendia, can add a little bit more density, a little bit more thickness, he's going to have a better structure, right? I'm not going to say he's better conditioning, but we know Jeremy can be conditioned. Jeremy's full in all the right spots. He's balanced from top to bottom. Again, do I think it's going to happen? No. But I also don't think that Jeremy Buendia is going to fall back into a late call out like a lot of people are saying.
How much would you love to see a call out where you have Andre next to Jeremy?
Oh man, that would be legendary. That would be legendary. I'm sitting here thinking, I mean, I do think that Jeremy is going to place higher than Andre that this year at the Olympia. But just for the social media side of things, I think that would be fun, man. That would be a fun conversation. Oh, there'd be a lot of shit talking on stage, elbows bumping. It'd be good. It'd be good for men's physique, I'll put it that way.
I would love that. Well, so let's say everyone leaves the stage, and then Steve calls back 4 names for final call out. Who do you think those 4 names are going to be?
That's a good question. Ryan Terry, Ali Bilal, Aaron Banks. Now, the, that fourth place spot right now is hard because you have Edvon Pomero, you have Brandon Hendrickson, man, Manuel Hunter. You know what? I'm gonna go with my gut here, and I'm gonna put Emmanuel Hunter in that fourth place spot. I don't think there's gonna be much difference in the placings this year compared to last year. With how exciting this year, I still don't think there's gonna be any crazy different. I do think like I have Ryan right now still winning it. Right? I think Ali is on his tail. And again, you said it, man. I know Aaron is playing a little bit of a peekaboo game. He drops an update every once in a while, kind of pulls it back in, but. I think again, there's a world where Aaron can win it too, man. And then that's the most exciting thing about the men's physique division right now. Because again, it's so up in the air. You can create a narrative and a reason why, a guy who placed fifth last year can win it this year. You know what I mean? It's truly wide open.
If Ryan won his third title,
Greatest men's physique athlete of all time.
that was my next question.
It's not even a question. If Ryan Terry wins this year's Olympia, he is the greatest men's physique athlete of all time. He's a guy who has competed multiple times throughout the seasons. He has won shows. He has been runner-up at the Mr. Olympia multiple times. He has won Arnold Classics. We would have had won 3 titles. If you want to just talk about stage success, yes, the greatest. You want to talk about off stage, he has done a lot for the division as well. He has changed the standard of the division. He has a success story that speaks volumes of his character. He's a family man. He's a guy who is just very easy to sit at the table with and move the division forward. And honestly, that might be the only knock I have on Ryan is the fact that I don't think that he has moved the division forward with the time that he has had enough. Because I think if anybody is more personable who can sit down with the higher ups, have these conversations, try to get more money for the division, X, Y, and Z, there's no doubt in my mind that Ryan Terry is that guy who can do it. I think he's extremely well spoken. He has the look for the men's physique division. He's sponsored by the right people. He's surrounded by the right people. There's no reason why a champion who has been at the helm for 2 years and who what I think is going to be 3 years, the money hasn't really changed much during that time.
Do you think if he was American, he would have surpassed Jeremy's record by now?
Ooh, um, are you talking about 4 titles?
Yeah, yeah, Jeremy's got
No,
four.
I don't think so. No, I don't think so. I think Ryan has a way to bridge, in terms of at least the fan base has a way to bridge between every demographic, every state line. Ryan is very personable. If you ever just have an opportunity just to speak with him outside of the camera, just sit down and actually have a conversation with him, it's hard not to like Ryan. It's hard not to root for him, and I think that Ryan is deserving of his 2 titles, and I think that he is right where he should be in the history books of men's physique. But this is a big year for him. This is the difference between, you know, being a guy who is one of the greatest versus who is the greatest in men's physique history. Like I want you to like that's a legacy, right? He says this is his legacy year. Let's be real. If he retires this year, who else? I mean, who else? I mean, this is the difference between the old guard and the new guard right now, right? Ryan Terry is really the last, top guy of the old guard because after him, you have all these new guys who are younger, who have years ahead of them, who are going to be making a name for themselves. But I don't think they're ever going to catch up to what Ryan Terry's done.
So is your head and heart saying Ryan will win the Olympia title? Or is it one or the other?
Yeah. I just think that Ryan is the guy with the least weaknesses. And because of that, it's going to be very hard to pick his physique apart. Meanwhile, every other guy in that top 5 conversation has weaknesses. Again, Aaron Banks, inconsistent with conditioning. Emmanuel Hunter, again, needs more detail to be compared to the top 2. Ali Bilal, we just talked about it. You can point out, almost every little thing that he doesn't have, but still finds himself in that conversation. You know what I mean? I think once you get one guy who, I don't think gets enough credit for it, but I still don't think he's going to win based off of, I think he's an uncrowned Mr. Olympia is Corey Morris. I think that he's another one of those guys that is a wild card. And as somebody who, he doesn't post on social media, I think he deleted his Instagram account, right? He's just one of those guys that, has a lot of mystique going into this year's Olympia surrounding him as well.
Have you seen Ryan's latest post?
Yeah. I seen it. And I think that's like the most we're gonna get from Ryan when it comes to like him talking shit. Like that's the most that we're gonna get. And I know, listen, when you're covering these guys, when you're talking to these guys, like you can read between the lines. I'm an athlete, right? Because I can put myself in their shoes, and a lot of times I can see and what they're feeling. I know there's a piece of Ryan that really wants to talk. I know there is, but I also think he's smart as the champion. There's a political game you have to play with it. Also, you just gotta sometimes close your mouth and let the work do all the speaking for you. But I think that I want to see him. I want to see him fire back a little bit. I want to, man. I want to see Ryan get off that king's throne for a second, come down, and then talk some shit.
Who do you think will have the biggest reaction if they won the Olympia title? I'm looking at all the men's physique competitors because I look back over years. We saw when Ryan won it last year, there was like this relief. When Aaron Banks won it, my God, that was a celebrity. Like threw his arm. Who do you think if you could hit? Who do you think would have the biggest reaction if they won the title? Because
On
everyone
stage
wants it.
reaction, on
Yeah,
stage
on
reaction,
stage.
I think it would be Aaron Banks. Off stage reaction, it'd be Ali Bilal. Ali Bilal will make sure that everybody who doubts him knows that they were wrong. That's just his personality. He's going to let them know respectfully, but he's going to let you know. If you doubt him, he's going to make sure he has a full circle moment to come back and rub it in your face.
He's going to run that Olympia camera that's filming for the live stream, go
Yep.
straight to it,
Yep.
sign his name on the camera, that's everything.
Yep. Exactly. I mean, Ali, again, I think Ali would be an exciting champion for men's physique. I really think he would be, man. I think he has a personality. He's willing to speak out during things that, that better the division as a whole. He already has proven to do things that move the division forward while also just having a little bit of excitement in terms of, the social media kind of stuff that we see him do. You know, again, I understand the game that Ryan's playing. You have to respect it, right? But at the same time, I really do think there's more that he could do to move the division a little bit more forward.
I do wonder what everybody was thinking at that video I posted for Ali Bilal yesterday, where he said like everyone has to live with the fact that he's the champion for a whole year.
And he doesn't blink. Like and that's what I'm saying. Like he, it's hard to explain his personality, but like he's respectful, but he's very like confident and short-winded with the ways that he feels. Like he truly feels that he's going to win the Olympia. Like I'll never forget this, man. And this was, another reason why I love Ali. I was doing an episode of the podcast and he was watching. He wasn't even on it. And, he heard me kind of like making jokes about myself, like just saying, oh, this person is more conditioned or whatever, just be beating myself up, just jokingly. But he messaged me right after he listened to the podcast. He's like, you better stop that shit. You need to stop it. You need to be more confident in yourself and you need to start talking like you need to speak it into existence. And like, he changed my mindset on it. And I think there's a part of him that knows that this is, going to be a battle. Of course, right? There's a sliver of doubt in his mind, but this man will not let that come through. He in his head truly believes right now that he's going to win the Olympia, and he's not uncomfortable saying it. And I think that's why a lot of us get uncomfortable hearing it sometimes and look at him as like he's the villain, where reality is we ask him a simple question and he answers that question from his perspective, right? So we can't get mad at him for doing it, just like we can't get mad at Aaron Banks for doing the same shit. I think there's a lot of people who are sensitive in the men's physique division, but at the same time, these athletes are putting in a lot of fucking work. And they truly believe that they're going to win this year's Olympia. So with the division being so wide open, we see people, who's won multiple Olympias place fourth at a regular show. We just saw it. So you're going to tell me that's just not a world where second place can jump ahead of the first place? Especially when, first place has shown to have a little inconsistencies in the packages that he's brought in? Absolutely not. You just have to understand and stop being so sensitive about him. And men's physique, we already are looked at one way. Don't give other people a reason to continue to do the same.
Alex, I appreciate your time. We're going to leave it at that. I appreciate obviously your feedback on the guys we just spoke about. Mate, what's happened to this week's Men's League radio episode?
So this week, we don't have an episode. Next week, we have a very special episode. So
Okay,
we don't, we have one of the guys we've been consistently talking about, coming on next week. And then we have a banger coming at the end of this week too. So it's a little bit different. It's in shuffled just based off of scheduling, but I'm telling you, it's gonna be a banger for the next couple episodes.
perfect. Alex, I appreciate your time.
Thank you, brother. Listen, I want to take a quick second, man. Seeing the way that you are pushing out your content, you're doing what you're doing, it's special, man. And it's something that not only just the men's physique division, but the bodybuilding community needs as a whole. So I want to take a quick second to thank you for doing what you're doing. And again, man, seriously, you're inspiring a lot of us. And I know you probably hear it, but I want to make sure that you hear it very clearly coming from somebody who understands the athlete's perspective and also the content side of things. We need people like you to continue to create the excitement in the men's physique division. So thank you so much, brother. And seriously, it means a lot as a fan of this sport.
I appreciate kind words. Thanks for
All right,
that.
brother.